life. Today we're gonna have a ton of fun because we got ourselves another oil change. Today we're gonna go ahead and change the oil in the Camaro. So if you have a 5th gen Camaro SS and you need to know how to change the oil do-it-yourself version, then stay tuned. If you want to become a mooch lifer, go ahead and subscribe to my channel, like, comment, and just remember here, we're giving away a Google Home Mini. So once we get to 200 subscribers, if you'd like to win that, go ahead and subscribe to my channel. And go ahead and check out my Instagram link too. I'm at mooch8786. So let's get to the video. So first thing I want to do here is I'm going to warm up the engine, get the oil up to temp. That way it flows out a little bit easier. We did that with the truck in my last video. If you haven't checked that out, feel free. If you need to know how to change oil in your 14 to 18 Silverado with the 5.3 liter. Now, in this car, we're going to be doing it ourselves, obviously. We're going to take you along for that journey, but it's a little bit trickier, a little more dangerous, because with the truck, I was able to just climb underneath, do it. Now this one, obviously, I'm not going to be able to get underneath the car unless I jack it up. So with that, it adds an extra sense of danger. So we're gonna show you how to safely do it, and yeah, so let's get to it. I'm gonna warm the engine oil up a little bit so it flows easier, but at the same time I'm gonna be underneath the car with the jack stands because everything's gonna be like an inch from my face, and it'll be pretty hot. So I think I'm gonna just warm it up to operating temperature, but when I get back, I'm gonna let it rest for a little bit. It'll still be warm oil, but it won't be operating temperature, and that's okay. It should still flow better than if it were cold. So let's get on the highway here and warm up the engine. That was a good time. I love revving this engine. It feels so good. And I love banging through them gears. There's just something about driving a manual transmission that's just so satisfying. It just like makes you feel so much more connected to the vehicle. We got a gorgeous day out here on the interstate, but unfortunately we can't cruise all day because I have to work. So we're just gonna turn around here and head back home with a warm engine. Listen to those downshifts. So I've been trying to come up with a cool nickname for the car now that it's gloss lime green. And I've come up with a few cool names, but a buddy of mine, he told me over this past weekend, and I should call it Slimer. So any Ghostbusters fans out there, if you know Slimer, Slimer's a little fat green goblin, and I think that's pretty cool names. I don't know if I'm gonna call my ride Slimer or not. Let me know what you think in the comments. If you think I should call the car a certain name, or if you have something funny you wanna come up with, feel free. So far we got Slimer, which I like the best. Sometimes I've been calling it the Green Machine. Sometimes Booger. But if you wanna come up with something funny, I'll take my favorite suggestion, and that's what we'll name the car. This amount of slowness right here isn't gonna work, so we're gonna have to take care of this. Woo! 65! Woo! 65, baby. Times 4. No, not really. Times 2? Probably. Now, shame on me because the oil in the car has been in here for like 8 months at least. And I went down the drag strip with it like, I don't know, 8 or 9 times. And then I took it on a road trip to Bowling Green, Kentucky last year for Camaro Fest, and a couple other road trips here and there. I'm sure this oil is well spent, so it's a good thing we're changing it here. Okay, so we made it back home. We're sitting in the driveway. Now I'm gonna let the engine cool off just a little bit because I don't want piping hot shit right up in my face. So if it were the truck, I wouldn't care because I'd have a little more clearance. Now all we gotta do is jack it up, right? Wrong. We got all kinds of safety concerns with this one because we're crawling under a tight space, and if the car falls on you, you're gonna die probably. So, number one, in gear, or in park if you're driving an automatic. Parking brake, up. Don't forget that. Wheel chocks, need those. Once the car's jacked up in the front, it could roll backwards. Don't just trust your e-brake. Wheel chock. Wheel chock. There. Now we're ready to jack it up. E-brake's on, wheel chock's in place. Now we find a safe jacking point under here to get it raised up enough. And then we're ready to go, right? Wrong again. Let's elaborate. So here's my Husky low profile jack I'm gonna put under the car here to jack it up. I'm gonna find a point on the frame right in the middle of the car. The only problem is even though this is low profile, it's still gonna hit. I don't know if you can see that. I'm just gonna get a couple pieces of wood and drive up on them real quick to give myself an extra inch or two, and then I'll be able to fit the jack under there better. We'll put the wood under here. All right, let's drive up on them. All right, we cleared. So let's get under here. And then you can see some frame right there in the middle of the shot. We're going up like a micrometer at a time, but with this jack I have, I'm limited, so I apologize for that. But let me just keep jacking her up, and once we get it up in the air a little bit more, I'll meet back with you. And a quick little reminder, if you move the vehicle to get it on wood like I had to do so my jack would fit, don't forget that your wheel chocks aren't against the back tires anymore, so make sure you go back there and put them back. Message! From the front of the vehicle, we're underneath. We put our jack under there, right in the center of the frame, and we jacked it up. Give you a better look. Here's a pillar here. You got two cross members, one there, one there. So I decided to use that farther back one. Now we're ready to get under the vehicle and change the oil, right? Well, folks, mama's wrong again. You gotta use jack stands. Never trust your jack. Hydraulic pressure is what keeps this car jacked up in the air. And these things can fail, and if you're underneath it, you're in trouble. Message! So I got a couple 2-ton jack stands here. Maybe some people feel comfortable just using one, but I don't. I'm gonna use two. So let's put them under there and get rocking. Just gonna put my jack stand right in between them. And then I'm gonna go to the other side and do the exact same thing. We got our other jack placed under there. I had to go a little bit inward this way from these two little spots because unfortunately this base was sitting in the crack. So we're just over here on this, in the middle part of the frame here, just a couple inches, so that should be fine. Now I'm gonna just let go of the jack pressure just to make sure they sit on the jack stands properly. Just ease it down. Sorry, I needed two hands to crack that. The frame's supported by the jack stands, and Jack's all the way down. Now we're ready to climb under the car and change the oil. No, we're not. We can use both jack stands and call it a day and think we're safe enough. But let's be extra safe and just say we're gonna help with it. We're gonna use the jack as just the backup. So we're actually gonna crank it right back up. We let the jack down so that we can make sure it can sustain its weight on the jacks. But we're gonna just put slight pressure back on the jack to act as a third jack stand, if you will. And then we're getting somewhere. There you go. So we got 3 spots of safety now. So we made sure the e-brake was on, the car was in gear, we jacked it up, we made sure the jack stands could support the car, and then we replaced the jack to act as a third jack stand. So we're ready to get under the car now and change the oil, right? Wrong. The last thing we like to do is give the car a shake. A slight little shake. Make sure it doesn't go anywhere. Now that we've given it a slight shake by hand, I'm gonna rock it a little bit harder. And then there. Now I trust the vehicle. We got 3 safety elements with the jack and the 2 jack stands. We've got wheel chocks under both rear wheels. So there's a point of safety. And we got the e-brake up and the car is in second gear. Now between all of those factors, we should be safe to go under the car and start changing some oil. So let's get to it. Alright, so here's our supplies. Of course we're using my favorite Mobil 1 Extended Performance Advanced Full Synthetic, just like I used on the truck on my last video. Except for this time, we're using 5W30 because that's what we use in our LS3. I got the AC Delco PF48E. That's the OEM filter. And then I bought a new filter wrench. So I had purchased this oil filter cap wrench for the Silverado. But, you know, obviously these aren't a universal tool. It's made for one size. So I went and picked this thing up at Walmart. It's $4. Put it in your ratchet. After I take the oil plug off and drain the oil, I'll just switch the ratchet over to this, and then it's adjustable. So I forget what sizes it all fits, but if you turn it all the way out, it goes like that. And then once you put the ratchet in it and you start tightening it, it'll enclose on the filter, like so. Just a quick little reference. So it'll grab it like that, and then we'll be able to easily twist it off. That's pretty cool, little cheap tool. And also, if you happen to catch my Silverado oil change, we had a crappy funnel, so I went out and got myself a nice big boy funnel so we don't run into that issue again. Alright, so oil filter wrench, 50mm socket, an extension just in case I need it, and our good old Craftsman wrench, a rag for wiping up excess oil. So let's get to it. So I always like to annotate everybody to where we're at, because like I said before in a video, every time I watch something on YouTube about how to do something from underneath the vehicle, or sometimes even underneath the engine bay, I always get confused on which way the camera's pointing and which side of the vehicle we're at. So there's the oil filter, our blue AC Delco, sticking out like a sore thumb. And this is on the driver's side of the vehicle. Well, it's in the middle of the vehicle, but the filter is on the driver's side. And so is the drain bolt. there's a drain bolt there. You can tell, so it's, I don't know, about 6 inches more in front of the vehicle. So out there, planet Earth, jack stands, that's the front. So filter, and just a little bit more towards the front. There's a little hump in the base there, so use that as reference. Don't be silly and think that this bolt right behind the filter is it, because it is not. Find the one that's more towards the front of the vehicle with the hump. And that should be a 15 millimeter. So we're going to crack that. The oil's going to squirt out this way. This way. So we'll get our pan positioned, and hopefully I'll position it in a better spot than I did last time. And I just want to note too that the car is barely jacked up high enough for me to get under it. I'm able to get my head under there and reach my arm in there, but if I wanted to squeeze my entire body under there, I probably would have to jack it up higher. I mean, I only weigh 185 pounds. I'm not that big of a dude, so I'm able to kind of squeeze under there. But if you happen to be a bigger fella, or gal I should say, you're gonna have to jack it up higher. Now, me barely being able to get under there, I got enough reach that I can get to the stuff I need to get to. It's gonna be a tight fit, but it'll work. So let's get our oil catch can positioned. And hopefully that's good, because my catch pan is wide enough. It's kind of hitting my jack stand. So yes, it's in a good spot. It's just centered to there. Let me try to seat the camera in. So there's the bolt, there's the pan, and hopefully it lands right in that sucker. So let me get my 15 millimeter wrench and crack this open, and I'll be right back. So the extension isn't going to work for this application because it's too tight. So I got my 15 mil on there. I'm going to crack it downward, counterclockwise, lefty loosey, righty tighty as usual. Let me see if I'm able to crack this. While filming it on the truck, I wasn't able to. Nope, I'm gonna need both hands here. And if you don't get it to work with both hands, then find yourself a tube, which I like to take my bar from my jack and take it off, put it on the end of the wrench, and then it gives you more torque. So let me crack it with both hands here. I'll be right back. So I was able to crack it. I can spin it by hand now. Now I'm going to get the oil pan positioned real good here and let her rip. Now, when I cracked this, my arms torqued and flew, and the wrench flew off, and my arm went flying up against the car here, against the catalytic converter, and yeah, I burnt myself. So please be careful. Like I said, I didn't jack this up far at all. I'm only like on the first click on the jack stand. It's just enough to get me going here, so I'm gonna let this drain here. Maybe I'll try to set the camera up so you can see me. All right, touchdown. If you remember from the Silverado video, I did not aim properly. So we're gonna let that drain for a good 10 minutes here at least. As the pressure goes down from volume loss, we have to creep the oil catcher a little more medial. And here's the oil drain plug. There is an O-ring on there, if you can see that. Make sure that comes off. Some people say to change it every other oil change. I'm gonna just leave it on. It looks like it's in good shape here, so it doesn't look crushed or distorted in any way to me. So we'll be right back after all this is drained, and we'll start working on the oil filter. We got ourselves down to a nice little drip here. It's been draining for like 15 minutes. So I'm gonna go ahead and get the drain plug here. Just screw it right back in there. Like I said, just remember that O-ring is still attached and in good shape. Make sure you're not cross-threading anything. It should spin in really nice and easy. Silky smooth like. And get it hand tight. And then we'll take our 15 mil again. Put it back on there. At this point, I guess I'll move the oil catcher because it's in my way some. And righty tighty, lefty loosey. Now it calls for 18 pounds of torque, but I don't see a lot of people who actually use torque wrenches to torque these down. So we're going to torque it down to T-FAR. And T-FAR is, of course, that feels about right. So it's hand tight. Give it a nice little real snug turn there. And then just a teeny bit more of a, for good measure, and good. So the idea is there oil leaking out? No. Is it tight? Yes. Did you crank it down so damn tight that you're trying to bend and dent the oil pan? No. And that should be good. So now we'll take the oil filter out here. Let me reposition the camera for that. This should be a good view of the oil filter. So let's go get our new little handy dandy tool we bought. Apply your new handy dandy tool there and just squeeze the grippers till they're like snug against the oil filter. And grab your wrench and give it a nice little twist. Oh wow, it's actually denting the oil wrench, or the oil filter. Well, that's kind of nervous. What if it breaks the filter open? Alright, it's cracking. That's good news. This thing is actually denting the shit out of the bottom of the filter. And I guess the idea would be if this thing like cracked it open and poked a hole in it and it started leaking oil everywhere and the filter wasn't loose yet, then we'd be in real trouble, wouldn't we? Because we wouldn't be able to drive it somewhere to get it taken care of. That's something. Oh, they put this thing on too tight or what? Or if this tool is just maybe not the best. Maybe these teeth need to be longer so it grabs up on the body more. I don't know. But when we're done, I'll show you the filter here. I'm just grateful that this thing cracked. Could have been in real trouble there. Or maybe it's supposed to do that. I don't know. Maybe that's normal operation for this thing, but I doubt it. Right, so it's able to be twisted off by hand. Let's grab our oil catcher. Get it. These GM engines are nice too. The trucky and the car are the same way. The filter is directly facing up and down, so all you gotta do is twist it off. Some cars are going sideways, and that's like a little trickier in my book, especially if you like to pre-fill your filter. Now you're supposed to fill it all the way up and put it in there. You're going to spill half your oil out. So I always feel like these are nice. Alright. Hot, hot, hot. Just be careful. And once it's loose, don't let it drop. See, it drains. It drains for a bit and then it stops. So now, if the oil was too hot and you couldn't handle it, let it drain. And once it gets to the point where you can handle it, start twisting it. And then boom. Only that it wants to fall out, so catch it and don't let it splash oil everywhere. And there you go. Now if you watch my truck video, it's the same thing. These have an O-ring around them. Sometimes the O-ring will stick up in here. Make sure it's not there. If it is, you got to take it off. Make sure it's attached to the filter still, which you can see it is. The black ring around the edge there. Because same thing like I said in the last video. If this O-ring came off and it was sticking to underneath the engine there, and you don't realize it, you're gonna grab the new filter and you're gonna put it on. You're gonna have like a double O-ring move, which isn't ideal. It can probably cause some leakage or issues. So that's that. Now's the time we'll clean up and get all this oil cleaned up with a rag, and then we'll prep and put in the new oil filter. I got my wife just got home from work. She's doing a little bug and tar action on her baby Leonard. And I guess she's wiping the interior off now. But hey, you gotta take care of your car, even if it's Dawn dish soap. There you go. Even if it's a piece of crap. Dodge.
It's a wonderful car.
Have pride in your vehicle no matter what you drive. That's what I say. I'm not a fan of Dodge, but she is. So power to her. And she's taking care of it. She's wiping her down, taking care of her business. And so my wife, Mrs. Mooch, here on Instagram, yesterday I asked a question. Mobil One's the trusted oil that I love to use. And I asked for people to comment on what kind of oil they use in their vehicles. And everybody came back with their typical responses like Mobil One High Mileage and Mobil One Extended Performance and Royal Purple. And then her comment was,
whatever they put in it.
Yeah, she puts whatever the people put in it. Because I don't change her oil. She takes it to the quick lubes. So, you know, as long as you're changing your oil.
She's running just fine.
Yeah, she is running just fine, isn't she? All right, back to oil change. Henry, say hello. Say hi. Oh yeah, sniffing license plates, huh? That's nice. Why don't you come sniff a Chevy? Sniff a Chevy. Hashtag sniff a Chevy. On a quick little side note, check this thing out. I took this tool right here to take the oil filter off, and look how much it dented it. I was literally very nervous that this was gonna puncture a hole in it and then oil was gonna start pouring out of it. And then I'd be stuck, like if I couldn't get it off, if it was on there too tight and I couldn't get it off, then I'd have a hole. I wouldn't be able to fill up my oil because it would drain out. And then how was I gonna get that thing off? I mean, I guess I would have had to just got a different wrench and kept trying, but one of those belt multi-adjustable ones, but with it all kinked like that, I don't know if it was gonna grab it good enough or not. So I'm not an oil expert pro, but anybody out there that is, feel free to comment. Is this normal? Like, are they supposed to like ding up pretty easy when you do that, or was this filter just on too tight, or what? So we're gonna crack open our beautiful Mobil One Extended Performance 5W30 full synthetic here and prep our oil filter. This is a beautiful part right here. One of those weird quirks that makes me feel all warm and yummy inside. Ah, perfect. And there's our golden goodness in there. Grab the filter and carefully pour some oil in the middle of it. And then we're gonna put a light spread of oil to lubricate the O-ring right there. Oh, perfect pour. So we filled up our filter. I don't want to tip it too far to show you because it'll leak. I'm gonna stick my finger in that oil. Just put a light little drizzle. This is the part where I compare a car or an automotive YouTube channel to a cooking channel. This is the, like Rachel Ray would call it, the EVOO, extra virgin olive oil right here. Goes great on salads, pastas, you know. All right, so we're lubed up. We did the rim job. So let's put it back on the car. Fresh filter, filled up with oil, and the obvious rim job is complete. I took a rag and I cleaned up all around the base there where it receives it. Then I'm at a weird angle. I'm gonna flip over on my back here. Sorry about that, I was prone. Now I am supine, which is the term you use for opposite of prone. Oh, look how easy. So that's on, that's threading. Look, I just flick it with my fingers. It just spins, right? That's what it should do. And then this is calling for hand tight. So I'm gonna go as tight as I can, hand tight. So I'm gonna grab So I'm gonna go as tight as I can with my hands here, with just one hand. And then for good measure, just maybe grab a towel, see if I can get a little bit more torque on it, which I did, about not even half an inch, but that's it. So our drain bolt is in. Our drain bolt is in, it is secure. Our filter is in, it is secure. So we are done underneath the vehicle. So make sure you get all your tools and your catch can and any wrenches or anything you have under here out of the vehicle. Make sure all your oil's cleaned up off the rails, any framework that you might have got stuff on, the exhaust. That way it doesn't smoke when you run the engine on any components that get hot. And that's it. So let's get our jack situation figured out. We're gonna get the car lowered, and then it'll be time to go up top and fill it up with some golden delicious Mobil 1 goodness. Back under the front now. We're gonna jack up the car a little bit higher so that we can get our jack stands off. There's one. And there's two. That's a critical moment. Don't be under the car when you're removing these, because same thing. The jack fails at this point, it's gonna fall and you're gonna get crushed. And nobody wants to get crushed. We made sure everything was out from underneath the vehicle. We are safely out from under the vehicle. So we're just gonna go ahead and crank her left, let the pressure release, and then the car will drop. Pull her out. Cringy noises. And that's it. She's back down. Now we get to go and play with the engine. The delightful LS3. Oh yeah, baby. Since we're under the hood here, it's a good time to point out that our booger is bloody. The underneath, the red rock metallic. Bloody booger. That's gross. We'll just call him Slimer. I like Slimer. Let's take off the oil cap here, the oil fill cap. Just a quick little twist. Put it somewhere safe. There is oil residue on the end of the cap, so don't be throwing it on your paint, no kinds of craziness. Put it in a spot where you know it'll be safe. I'm gonna throw it right on the cart. Now we're gonna use our Big Daddy funnel. Stick that right down in there, like so. That's beautiful. And the LS3 calls for 8 quarts of 5W30, full synthetic, Dexos approved Gen 2. It's the official oil of NASCAR right here, and it's what I trust. So let's go ahead and guzzle her in there. Oh yeah. Sexy, sexy. Look how beautiful that is, that amber color. It's like a beautiful beer. I love putting fresh oil on my car. It just makes you feel so good. And then the first time you drive it, ugh. I guess the only tip here is like, if you pour it too fast, it might not get down in the engine quick enough. It could spill out, come up, backflow on you. So try to avoid that. There's no rush here. Nice steady flow. It's so much easier pouring this stuff in because the last time, if you saw my truck video, and if you didn't, go check it out. Just search the Mooch Life channel, give it a click. I used a tiny little funnel that I had laying around because I didn't have a big funnel like this, and it was a little bit trickier, but I'm an excellent pourer, if you will, so we made it work. All right, so we got our 8-quart capacity, but I bought 2 5-quart jugs. So this side over here, these ticks, where am I at? These ticks here are the quart side, and then the left side's for liters, so we're gonna use quarts. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4 ticks on it. Well, the bottom section would be 1 quart. So it's simple math, but just in case you don't know, we need 3 quarts out of this. So we're gonna do 1, 2, 3. So we're gonna pour the oil till it's down to this tick here, second from the bottom, which would leave 2 quarts left in the bottle, and that'll be 8 quarts. And then we'll just save this oil for our next oil change, the other 2 quarts. So we'll just pour that in. We're gonna check it and see where we're at. That was 1 quart, a little bit more than 1 quart. Pour a little more. Check it. That was 2 quarts. So we gotta do 1 more quart. So let's be careful. Check it a little more quickly. It's almost half a quart. Check it again. Almost to the 3rd quart. Check it again. That's pretty close. I'm gonna set it down real quick to make sure it's level. Teeny bit more there, just a teeny bit more. Check it again. All right, and as you can see here, we're level, and we are down to the 3rd quart. Sorry, it's windy. We're down to the 3rd quart here. So that should be 8. So we got 5, 6, 7, 8. So that's it. Let's take out our funnel, put the oil cap back on. We're gonna start the engine, let it run for 5 minutes. Then we're gonna let it rest for 5 minutes, and then we'll check the level. All right, LS3 party up in here. You got the cooled air inductions intake there too. I did that myself before I started my channel last winter. So looks pretty rad, right? See the insulation down in there? It's pretty badass. Cool big ass filter. And you can tell a difference too. Speed wise, not so much, but you definitely hear it when you hit the accelerator and you rev it. Like in the driveway with the hood open, you can hear it sucking like extra air. It's like woof, woof. So it's pretty cool. They say it's 15 horse on the dyno. All right, let's finish up. Funnel out, make sure you're not dripping everywhere. Set that aside. Fill cap back in the hole. Just like kind of like half a turn. It always sits in that position. The threading is in such a way that like you can't, it doesn't twist. It's just like, it's always like that. So when it's on, you're always gonna have your Dexos facing that way, and your knob, the grabbable knob section is always gonna be parallel to the long axis of the engine. And that's that. So let's start her up. Looking good. I'm proud of myself. I've never changed oil in the car before, and I was actually quite nervous. I was nervous that I was gonna let the car crush me, to be honest. A little bit of a claustrophobic OCD thing, I guess. I don't know, but not being an experienced mechanic or anything, definitely a little bit of a nervous oil change compared to the truck, obviously, because you trust yourself being underneath there because you don't have to jack anything up. Now, hopefully this video gives you the confidence and inspiration to do your own Camaro oil change. That's what I'm hoping for this video. So if you enjoy that, go ahead and give this video a like and follow along. You know, I feel like the instructions were pretty good here. The biggest one is safety. You know, make sure you have wheel chocks. Make sure you don't just use your jack. That's very important. The jack can fail. I mean, basically trusting your life to a little hydraulic built in some factory overseas. You know, so you need to give yourself 2 or 3, you know, measures of added safety. So, you know, use the jack, put jack stands under it, or use ramps if you have ramps. But you know, if you buy ramps online, they seem to be expensive. So I like the jack stands. They're cheap. You know, if you can't afford jack stands to do an oil change on a Camaro, then you probably can't afford the Camaro. So I went to Walmart and bought those things. They were $8 each. I got 2 of them, so $16 for the jack stands. The jack I got a couple years ago, it's like Home Depot or Lowe's, I forget which one. That thing was only like $60. And then just, yeah, get your oil supply, oil change supplies, your filter, your oil, and then you know, it's fun time. It's quite an accomplishment to do something even as simple as an oil change to your own vehicle. So, you know, I hope you enjoyed it. Let me go in there and give you a rev or two. You can hear the, you'll probably hear the intake more sucking air. It's pretty cool. And then we're gonna shut the car off, let it cool off, and we'll check the oil dipstick and make sure we're at our correct level. I hope you enjoyed those revs. So we're gonna let the car sit now, and we'll check our dipstick. I'll be with you in a minute, or 5. Let's pull our dipstick here, which is our yellow ring right next to the fill cap. Pretty convenient. Take it all the way out, clean it off. Nice little shop towel or old rag. Place it back in, all the way down, and all the way back up. And then we'll check our level here. I don't know if it's hard to see there, but I don't know if it'll focus or not, but there's the cross-hatched area, so you want to be in between that. And I got oil coverage all the way to the top of the crosshatch, which it's covered the whole way up and down, and that's pretty much perfect, right to the tippy top. Okay, and as usual, our last step here is to reset the oil light system to 100%. So let's crack the key to on position. And we'll get our little digital gauge cluster up there. And we're gonna cycle through the menu till we get to the oil life, which I believe is under vehicle information. And it's just this up and down toggle here. Up, down, up, down. Get to your oil life. And it says press set clear to reset. So that's right here on the edge, set clear. So we're gonna hit it. And it says, are you sure you want to reset? Toggle it up. Now it's on yes. Click your button. And there it goes, 100%. Note your mileage, 18,626. And then you'll know if you like to do your interval. Like I said, this oil is good for 15,000 miles. I mean, I'll change it earlier than that. It's just the way I am. I want the good, high performance, high mileage oil. Not high mileage oil, high longevity oil. But I'm still gonna change it at a regular interval. You know, it just makes me feel better. And I hit the rev limiter sometimes, and I drive fast. I go down the drag strip every once in a blue moon. So I'm gonna, you know, beat on my oil per se. So that's that. All right, I hope you enjoyed this oil change, because I sure did. There's nothing better than fresh oil than your motor. It just makes me feel good, makes me feel real gushy inside, you know? So just remember, if you subscribe to the Mooch Life channel and check out my Instagram at Mooch8786, I'll put that on the screen there. You're gonna be entered to win this Google Home Mini as soon as I hit 200 subscribers. So become a Mooch Lifer, and let's continue this Chevrolet journey. Peace out.